I decided to do a really quick tutorial on how to get from kind of a summer looking photo to more of a autumn looking image like this. It's not as hard as you might think, it just takes a little bit more time and patience. So what you're going to do, you're going to start out with your paintbrush over here and just cover this entire grass area. Hello. Okay, so then you can pull the exposure down so you can see exactly where it is that you're painting. Don't worry, it won't look black like this in the end. So you're just going to go over. You can get pretty close to where they're at. You don't have to be completely precise because this brush is not hard edged. It doesn't show as much as you would think. So just try not to get it on their clothes because we don't want to change the colors of their clothes to orange. We just want to change the grassy area, and especially be careful. You know, for her, I have to be careful with this white cardigan she's wearing. So I'm gonna get close enough, but not too close. We don't want to get too much in Zoe's hair here. Get this little space between their faces as well. Okay, so now that you've got that, oh, I accidentally drew across her face there. There we go. All right, now let's put this back in here. Okay, that looks good. So now you're going to drag it up, but what you can do is you can change the white balance here until it's a lot more pink, a lot more yellow. You can change highlights and contrast if you would like to do that. I usually put contrast in there. You can kind of see how over on the edges next to the people you can tell that you're changing it, so you just want to go back through and make sure that you get closer, a little closer to the edges till it looks more natural. Okay, so that does not look bad, I don't think. And if you need to get, you can do, I think I got a little bit of it on her cardigan, so you can go back and kind of erase off of areas you didn't quite mean to put it onto. And I'm doing that by clicking Alt, and then it pulls up the subtract sign, and then you can change the size of that by using the brackets on your keyboard for up and down. Okay, so now I like that. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to just apply my basic preset that I have for my own photos. I made it myself. I didn't buy it from anybody. I'm going to pull down the exposure. If you know me, I really like dark and vibrant colors, so I don't usually overexpose my photos, but I know that that's what some of you like doing, and that is totally fine. So let's see here. Now I'm going to go down here to where my hue, saturation, and luminance are, and you're going to click this target and click a green area and pull up and down and just watch as the colors change. So this is one really, really quick and easy way to change any hue in your photo, is to just go choose that top one, and you want to make sure that up here you have chosen all and not just luminance, saturation, or hue. So drag it until you like where it's at, and then if you want to mess with these, you certainly can. It just kind of changes how bright each of those colors are going to appear. I actually want to deepen the reds a little bit on this. And what I did as well, because this mama's face is a little bit dark, I added a little bit of exposure, and I'm going to add just a little bit to her face as well, I think. Oop. I added some on the side there for some reason. That's funny. All right. So I like the way that this is looking. And you know what? I actually have added some sunshine up here in the corner too. So you just kind of drag and make sort of a random shape up in the corner. You don't have to be super precise. And so you can brighten that or darken it as much as you want. You can also make it more yellow, more pink. You can add contrast. I find if you add contrast, I like this better. I don't know why. It's just a personal preference. I don't think it looks, like, oh, it has to be this way, or looks better that way, or worse the other way. You just do what you think looks good, and just mess with the sliders. Watch those highlights up there because sometimes they can get too blown out. Sometimes they look silly if you drag them down too far. Okay, so I like that. I think that I'm going to add a little bit of, oh, it dragged it up there. I didn't want it to drag, I just wanted a dot down here. So yeah, and you can go and kind of add selective light areas to other spots in your photo if you like. I kind of let it seep into her hair so that the sunlight looks like it's following through all the way to where the people are at. Okay, so it's never going to look exactly like, you know, the first one that I made, because that's just how it is. There's variations, and sometimes I'll come over here and mess with curves a little bit. Usually I do somewhere around there. Okay, so I have a second photo editor, and it is called Affinity Photo. If you don't know what it is, I highly recommend you check it out. And they definitely didn't pay me to say this. I just love it enough that I recommend it to all photographers. You don't have to pay a monthly subscription, and that's one of the best things about it. They have it now available for Mac and for Windows. Even though I'm a Mac user, it should be the same interface on both, I would think. So here's that. I think that's good enough. I'm going to go ahead and edit this in my Affinity Photo now. The one thing I wish I would have been a little more careful about is her hair over here. I think I got a little too much orange, but for the sake of time, for the sake of your time, I'm not going to go through and fix that, but you can go ahead, definitely pay attention to things like that. Okay, so now it's going to open it up in Affinity Photo, and normally I would do skin corrections and things like that at this point. Both of these girls have very clear skin, so it's not really a problem anyway. But I usually do try and go through and fix some shadows on their faces and things like that. But for the sake of time, again, I'm just going to go ahead and forgo that. It's being pretty slow opening up, I'm not sure why. Let me see if for some reason it didn't want to go over. Well, I don't see it in here. Okay, here we go. So at this point, what I do is I create a new pixel layer, and I just grab a paintbrush, choose a really vibrant orange color. I'm going to enlarge in my paintbrush, so I'm going to do basically what I did in Lightroom, only it's just nice to add this other layer on top, and for some reason I prefer the way that Photoshop, or in this case Affinity Photo, makes this look, because you can change the blending modes later on. Okay, so then the only problem with this is when you don't get it all in one swoop. My brush is opaque right now, which I wish I hadn't done that, but that means that it's going to add darker lines over the areas that I quit painting before, if that makes any sense. Yeah, see, like right there, it's way darker than the first layer, which is a little bit annoying, but it won't really matter, because when you drag this down and you change your blending mode to overlay, you don't notice as much. I probably would go back and redo that and change my opacity to be 100% so that when I redid lines it wouldn't show up darker than my first ones, but I will just save your time and not go and fix that right now. But at least you know what you can do to forego that. So yeah, there's still a lot of green in here, as you can see, so I just go over it with this orange, and I always do the overlay blend mode, and then I just mess with the opacity until I like where it's at. Other things I would do to this particular photo is, because I've made it so warm, I would go in and I would actually brighten or whiten. I would whiten her teeth, and I would probably brighten her eyes, and I think that's about it for this photo. And of course, I'm not very precise this time, but that's because I don't want to sit here, for 20 minutes showing you precision. I just want to show you the general idea of this is how I get these photos. So yeah, I think it's maybe a little bit too orange for me. I would you know, I'll mess with this until I like where it's at. I want it to look like fall, but I don't want it to be, you know, like they're inside a giant pumpkin or something. So I'll leave it right here and just call it good. I hope this was helpful. Let me know if there's any other tutorials that you would like to see. I'll leave a link down below for Affinity Photo in case you're interested in checking that out.